Laird in the backfield. Fitzpatrick on 4th down. And this pass is caught. Parker. From the 17, new set of downs. As Fitzpatrick throws to the end zone, it is Parker. Again, his second touchdown today.
After having a horrible 0-5 start to the season, the Kangaroos managed to turn it around and battle their way into the playoffs. Devontae Parker had an explosive game, catching 7 of his 10 targets for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving the Kangaroos 29.61 fantasy points.
Here's Montgomery. Pass is caught. What a start. Touchdown, Chicago.
Allen Robinson caught 8 of his 12 targets for 86 yards and a touchdown for 19.74 fantasy points. Linebacker Devin White racked up 7 tackles, 2 assisted tackles, an interception, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown for 19 fantasy points. The Kangaroos beat the Lunatics 147.88 to 102.37, knocking off the Lunatics from going to the playoffs.
Look at him go. Stiff arms. He's a sledgehammer. He's in. Touchdown, Tennessee. What a play.
The Apollos have done it again, scoring over 200 points for the second time this season. Derrick Henry continues to be a monster on the field, rushing for 149 yards and a touchdown for 24.03 fantasy points.
Aaron Rodgers on 3rd down and goal to the end zone, and it's a touchdown for Davante Adams.
Davante Adams caught 6 of his 10 targets for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns for 22.27 fantasy points. Dak Prescott threw for 355 yards and 2 touchdowns for 31.25 fantasy points.
Walked off under his own power on 3rd down. Locke looking end zone for Sutton, and a diving attempt. Did he get it? Touchdown! What a catch!
Cortland Sutton caught 4 of his 5 targets for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving the Apollos 21.94 fantasy points. Both Raquan Smith and Darius Leonard went super. Raquan Smith racked up 15 tackles, 5 assisted tackles, and 2 sacks for 24 fantasy points. Darius Leonard racked up 11 tackles, 6 assisted tackles, and 2 sacks for 21 fantasy points. The Apollos destroyed the A-team, 205.88 to 138.32.
Comes back into a wing. Brady dancing and fires, and that will be James White.
James White led the way for the Red Sox, rushing for 79 yards and catching 8 of his 11 targets for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving the Red Sox 34.44 fantasy points. Robert Woods caught 13 of his 19 targets for 172 yards, achieving 24.47 fantasy points. The Red Sox gave the Sharks their second loss of the season, beating them 157.27 to 125.65.
A little trickery and a pass to boot. Wide open. Singletary with the Buffalo touchdown.
Devin Singletary rushed for 63 yards and caught 3 of his 4 targets for 38 yards and a touchdown for 17.83 fantasy points.
10 rushes for Gurley. Gurley the football. Gurley into a crowd, and eventually touchdown, Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley rushed for 95 yards and a touchdown, giving the Horde another 17.83 fantasy points.
It's Brissett. Blocked by Nelson. They got him! Look at Doyle! He's in for the touchdown!
Jack Doyle was a great waiver pickup this week for the Horde, catching 6 of his 11 targets for 73 yards and a touchdown for 16.87 fantasy points. The Horde beat the Savages 138.78 to 79.95.
Allen going, end zone, wide open for the touchdown. DJ Moore.
DJ Moore caught 6 of his 12 targets for 75 yards and a touchdown for 20.20 fantasy points.
And here is Minshew's pass, and it's a touchdown! D.D. Westbrook.
D.D. Westbrook caught 5 of his 8 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown for 22.80 fantasy points. The Berserkers beat Snatch City 157.93 to 122.17. Here are the end of the regular season rankings. In the Sword Division, the Sharks end the regular season on top at 11-2. In second are the Berserkers at 8-5, followed by the Kangaroos and Lunatics at 5-8. And in last are the Red Sox at 4-9. In the Axe Division, the A-Team ends the regular season on top at 9-4. In second are the Apollos at 8-5. Coming in third is Snatch City at 7-6. In fourth is the Horde at 5-8. And in last are the Savages at 3-10. It is time for the playoffs. And for those Fallen Warriors who didn't make it in, they must still battle to stay out of the flush zone, where the 2 last place teams will battle to not be flushed down the throne of peace as the absolute worst team of the year. In the Sword Division, we have the Red Sox battling the Lunatics to stay out of the flush zone. And in the Axe Division, we have the Horde battling the Savages to stay out of the flush zone. Good luck to the 4 of you, Legendary Warriors, and keep fighting. And for this week in the playoffs, the Sharks and A-Team will have a bye, while the Berserkers and Kangaroos battle to move on in the Sword Division. And the Apollos and Snatch City battle to move on in the Axe Division. Will the Kangaroos continue their Cinderella story and move on to the next round? Or will the Berserkers end the Kangaroos fairy tale? And will Snatch City end the Apollos' 6-game winning streak? Or will the Apollos nuke Snatch City with another 200-point game? Find out next time on Legends of War Final Bout.